There's a,
Hi, Brian. Can you hear us okay?
I can.
Right, perfect.
are
Welcome.
you watching the game as well, Brian?
Oh, no.
No, I wouldn't do that.
You could text us some scores.
Who's playing?
Michigan and who's the other? What's the other
Ooh.
team?
Washington.
Washington.
Yeah. It's a college final, football final.
Oh, I was gonna say, what sport is it? I don't follow sports. Do we have anyone else on Zoom?
No. Not yet.
Oh, and Charlotte sends her regrets, but she's having trouble getting in the Zooms now too.
Oh.
Yeah. All right, I'd like to start this meeting on January 8th of our Westport Island Select Board. I'd like to start with the warrants. We have quite a few today because we have about 3 weeks worth of warrants to take care of. So I'd like to move that we approve payroll number 59 for $3,757.66. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd like to move that we accept accounts payable number 60 for $24,541.22. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I'd like to move that we accept payroll number 61 for $5,000. This is fire department stipends that get paid quarterly. And it Ashley just chose to put it as a separate item. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Actually, I need to recuse myself, I think,
Okay, because you are a
because
fighter.
I expect to have a check on that.
I do remember signing it, so.
I will second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
So that's
2-0.
2-0.
And you can just note that I abstained because
Yeah.
I was recused.
All right, I'd like to move that we accept payroll number 62 for $1,885.62. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept accounts payable number 63 for $7,654.48. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I make a move that we accept payroll number 64 for $1,887.59. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And lastly, I'd like to make a motion that we accept payroll accounts payable
65.
number 65, thank you, for $33,516.03. And this includes quite a few donations, such as Wiscasset Library was $5,200. There was also a Burgess invoice there for $4,200, which is why it's a little costly this time.
Yeah.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just note on this last one, I get a couple things that are unique. So the Burgess charge is for the purchase of computers to replace the office staff's computers,
Mhm.
to both get new computers, other associated equipment, and the labor to install and set up.
And we approved that 2 meetings ago, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yep. So that's following through to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, talking about the social service organizations, all the social service organizations whose amounts were approved by town meeting in June are being paid now.
Yep. All right, I'd like to move that we accept the minutes of December 21st, 2023 Select Board meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Was it the 21st or the 18th?
It was the 21st because 18th was the storm and we didn't have it till that Thursday.
Right.
We-
Oh, that's right.
That that's
That's why
week.
we postponed it. You're right.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sorry.
that was why we had to.
It was such a blur. Such
Yeah,
a long
we
time
had
ago.
it
Well, I wasn't, was I?
You was after we had.
You were-
No,
Yeah.
You were leaving.
Yeah, I was
like,
gone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or you got postponed or something happened.
Well,
You were supposed to-
but I was on Zoom.
no,
No.
no, but we had it after our open house.
Yeah.
Which went really, really well. All right. When, citizens issues, Brian, do you have any issues?
Yes.
No,
Thank you.
Hey, Bev.
She says
Hi,
yes,
Bev.
yeah, they are do. It's called a
Okay.
micro.
One of the things I'd like to mention, this is sort of, I didn't know where else to put it, but since I know I've had quite a few issues with people with expensive electric bills. And so we talked the other day about maybe looking into doing the window insert project again that we had done, gosh, 20 years ago or something. It's been a while.
8 years, I think, it's,
8 years?
Yeah.
No,
since the last set,
okay,
but it went on for several
yeah,
years.
yeah. I have contacted Dennis Dunbar, who is active with that. And he suggested I talk to Bill Hopkins, which I haven't yet because I don't have his contact information. So I need to get that tomorrow. Once I talk to him, I would be interested in seeing if there are people that would like to work on this. And basically, what this was a committee who went to people's houses and measured the windows, and then, especially in places like trailers or anywhere where you're close to the water, where you have the strong wind, that they made inserts that then could be put inside your window just to help with the wicked winds that happen in the winter. And I know for people who needed that kind of support, it was free. And for others, it was a charge. So we have to figure all that out, but I just want to put that out there in case anybody's listening and is interested in maybe joining us. Next on our agenda is roads, and we don't have Jim here today.
We'll just note a couple things again, that the concern is going to be coming up with blowdowns and also electrical issues kind of coming up. But Jim has, I guess, with Randy Russell.
Yep.
On sort of standby to take action, and to give credit to I guess the fire department, first responders also were active in this last month to remove obstructions as well.
I forgot to ask, for what it's worth, if anybody watches these meetings, I wanted to put the number out of who people should call with this storm. I don't know how we can get that out, like in the next day, clear.
Are you
Maybe we could
thinking
do it on Facebook,
Dale?
maybe? No, the 882 number that you could, when we're
Yes.
trees
That's right.
down and there's wires involved, who do
Yes.
you call? And Jeff had said,
Usually
Well,
call
the county,
dispatch
but
center.
not the 911 per se, you were saying.
Yep.
Yep, 911 if you're concerned about the power line coming down and someone getting hurt.
Right.
Yeah, but so again, using sense, but rather than posting on Facebook, oh, there's a tree down.
No, yeah. So I was hoping maybe we could put something,
We want to put it in the next newsletter that you do.
right, but we should probably put something on Facebook.
only because of
tomorrow.
the storm,
Yeah.
that's what I'm
The stuff's
saying.
coming
Because
right
it's as clear as mud. People just go, and they don't know who to call, who's the
Yeah.
proper one to call.
Yeah.
So I think we should maybe post something like that.
Can you do that tomorrow?
Yeah,
Do you have a number?
no, I'll find out. Somebody
Yeah,
has it,
yeah.
I'm sure.
And I do want to say too, since we're talking about roads, that I've been very impressed with
Oh,
Dale's
yeah.
commentary on Facebook. I mean, he is coming and posting all the time. And he posted before the storm even came and said that and I feel like it's been really helpful, because every comment that I've seen since he started talking has been positive.
Yeah, and I think the roads look great.
Yeah. And the other thing I thought was interesting, and I'm not sure what to do with this, but I want to put it out there and maybe contact Brenda Bunyan, because I think she was the one who suggested it. There was a comment. Did you look at Facebook today?
I did, so you're talking about the hills.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it took me forever. I keep wanting to say
that
Munjoy
was
Hill, but
cute.
that's actually Portland. It's Mosier Hill. And then it was like the fire.
Mothball. is the
Yeah.
one we had the
Right,
contract.
but they're Snake Hill, people were asking where Snake Hill, actually, it's not even on the island. But anyway, I thought that would be sort of interesting to post somewhere, just especially
Well,
if
you know, it
you're
would be
calling
cute, you know,
these
those
names.
maps that they do of towns that are like sort of cartoony,
Yep,
and it's like something like that would be cute.
yep.
Bailey
Anyway,
could probably do
Yeah,
that.
I have, and actually Brenda, it showed that's the case, that there'll be names that some people have, but might be just them and their neighbors.
Oh, yeah, like
And
Maupaws Mulpole.
that's right.
Yeah,
Because George, and this is, you actually go back on the history material, that was supposedly a witch. And lived up that way.
on the island.
But there was a schoolhouse, the South End
Mhm.
Schoolhouse was up there.
Yep.
So
I mean,
there's more to it, but the name got mangled in Brenda's rendition.
But, you know, I've heard Mosier Hill for years and years, and I've driven
Is that
out,
was
and I had
Mosier
no
Farm?
clue.
Yep, yep.
Until I started doing a little research, and it's like, that's why it's called Mosier Hill.
Yep.
But if you don't have that history, but, you know, when somebody was saying, oh, it's really treacherous out there, you gotta be careful in Snaky Hill, and it's like, oh,
Okay,
well, am I going there?
I said, that's the first time I've heard that street name, I said, where is that?
Maybe this would be a good thing for the WCA newsletter. Next month would be to actually write that up. And include that as a
Oh,
little community resource.
we're having a meeting tomorrow, so I'll try to remember to bring that up.
Yeah, well, if Bailey does that, we could have it hanging up here, we could put it on our website.
Be cute, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a nice little thing. Cause I was also quite lost when I first moved here with all the like casual areas of the main road people refer to. I'm like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, I'll ask the WCA, 'cause it'd be nice just to have a one-page map of that. All right. On to, the 2024 animal control contract.
Before we leave, Rose,
Yep.
I'm sorry. There was one item where we have a problem with Post Office Road, the culvert below April's house. And it's been plowed around. Folks have plowed around that. But Jimmy's planning when he can to actually get in and patch that hole.
Was it that hole that keeps,
It opens.
it keeps
Yeah, there's
opening up?
several places. We also have that same problem with the Heel Pond Causeway, where stuff falls through.
Yeah,
And
And
this is,
Swan Creek also has holes.
yeah. But this is, so Jim's aware, and for people who drive by it, and he's planning on trying to address it, but right now it's covered with snow.
okay.
Hey, Jeff,
Yeah,
does that include the Willis Point Road? I know there's no hole, but there's a crevasse. And poor Stuart doesn't have an SUV. But I don't think it's an issue now with the snow, but when it's raining and no snow, there's a big gully. And it's not doing anything for his car.
Is Willis Point a town road?
yes, it is. Yeah, good to know, because I don't go down it, so I didn't ski it yesterday, but that's,
We can certainly make sure that.
Yeah. I know Jim knows about it. And we
Okay,
talked about it last fall with the rain we had last fall. It created an issue. And I know there's a cone out there, but I don't think anything was done before we got the snow. So the snow solves the problem temporarily because it's filled. So, but when it's not, I don't know what's going to happen after Wednesday. So,
yeah, and I know with all the storms we've been having, Jim's been doing a lot of work just trying to take care of trees and other issues. And I suspect Wednesday's gonna be another issue because they're expecting flooding and whatnot.
it's gonna be a bad day.
Sounds like it's gonna
All
be
we
pretty
can
bad.
expect.
So I think he's just trying to maintain and, so, but if you've talked to him about it, then I'm sure that it's on his radar.
yeah, and I saw Stuart in between Christmas and New Year's, and I think he had called Jim as well, but it was a while ago, but he was okay. He said, well, I can get over it. It's not a big deal, but it's every time it rains, it gets the bigger deal. That's all. So I don't know what's gonna happen these next two storms, because it looks like we're gonna get rain and rain. So just something that he may get another call from Stuart. Nobody else but Stuart's using it, so.
Yep, yep. Yeah, I'm sure that Jim will respond as best he can. So, anything else on roads? All right. 2024 animal control contract. April, I know you were in touch with Sheriff Brackett. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? And then I think we'll probably need to make some kind of, at least have more discussion about it.
Yeah, so the town of Westport Island contracts with the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office for our animal control, and we get a contract every year. For 2024, I don't believe we have received a contract yet.
And I did ask him for one, and he hasn't responded.
We received a letter saying they were gonna make some changes, primarily pushing more liability onto the town about anything that happens involving an animal control incident. And Donna and Lisa attended a workshop meeting they had at the end of December to sort of explain those changes. And we still had some questions in the course of this past year. We received some reports from them that were pretty heavily redacted, so we don't know where dog incidents are happening or who they involve. We would like to just kind of know that in case other things come up, or to warn people, or if the code enforcement officer has to go there for a reason, those kind of things. And we also have questions about their process, because we pay for this, so we don't know what happens ultimately with a dog that's a repeat problem. We just keep getting a bill. Does it somehow get pushed to a resolution ever, or does it just keep happening and happening and happening, and we keep paying for it? So we had those questions for them, which I emailed and copied the select board, and Sheriff Brackett got back. I haven't had time to read it in detail. I just glanced through it, and I think, Jeff, you responded to Sheriff Brackett, but Donna did.
I did,
Yeah.
yeah. I actually asked him for the draft contract,
Again.
and I haven't heard
Yeah.
back from him. He did say that he would not do anything until, one, he figured out why things were being all blacked out, because he didn't feel like that should be happening. And he also had gotten permission to postpone doing the new contract for everybody.
The county commissioners
Yep.
gave him a 30-day extension.
Yep, he had said he was gonna ask for that, while they figure out that liability clause. As a select board, we talked about this a bit, and didn't make any decisions. But we were thinking that probably in the past, we've had our own animal control officer, and then it got to be too much of a challenge for people. So it sounded like we might be interested in still doing the contract with Lincoln County. But waiting to see, there's also supposed to be, I think, a 5% increase. So we have no idea what, I think last year the cost was $3,200. For some reason that sticks in my,
I'm not sure, we have a budgeted cost,
3240 or something.
32 something.
there's a
Yeah.
budgeted cost, but we've actually not paid the full budget amount.
So they charge us for every call.
The way that they were talking, that's what happened in the past. In the conversation, that's why it would be helpful to see a contract. At the meeting I was, that I attended, they were talking about that they were going to be based, what a town would pay, and maybe that's why we haven't had the numbers yet, but they would base it on the number of towns who were actually part of that. So if every town, 14, 15 towns, if all 15 towns, I'm making up the number, if all the towns all said, I want to be part of this Lincoln County process, then they would divide it up somehow and pay, it was going to be a full-time employee based on the number of towns. So if fewer towns I know Booth Bay opted out this year, so that's one less town. So based on the number of towns would be how much we would pay. But I don't know whether that is then still the maximum amount, like they had charged us, but yet we were only paying per service call.
I am not that familiar with the contract. I think we probably pay like a flat fee, some kind of yearly cost, and then we also pay per call.
That's what I think too. Yeah.
That's my very vague understanding.
Yeah, and without a contract, so he has not responded. That was, I think, Friday.
The budget amount is 3,200.
I thought it
What we've
was,
spent so
yeah.
far, as of December was 982, so a little less than $1,000.
Okay.
But there may have been other things in the middle still to come. But again, my recollection was last year is that we underspent.
Okay. Yeah. Which would make me wonder why they, you know, the number that they picked was 3,200. Would they now have, let's say, 5% more, but then you're still just paying on service call? But because the way that he was talking the other day, it sounded like.
Is he going to go to just a portion? So if we are
Right, that's
one of
what-
15 towns, we pay 15.
That's what he was talking about, but, but not having seen a contract.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
And they postponed, you know, he did ask for a 30-day postponement so that they could figure this out. And also figure out this legal piece.
The process, insight into what their process is when they're dealing with a repeat dog issue, wasn't very satisfying. What I
Yeah.
gleaned from it,
Yeah.
basically, maybe there's something we could do here to help, because it said something about town ordinances, like they're enforcing and they can only do what is in an ordinance or the state law. So maybe we could write into an ordinance something that would help bring
That's what I was thinking.
some things to an end instead of having 20 dog calls over the course of a year or something like that. I don't know, that probably bears a little more looking into.
I can do that. I'll look into that.
So at this point, not having seen a contract, I don't feel like we should do anything, but we definitely need to keep it on our radar because the contract, I guess, should have been renewed starting January.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
now
I've
it's-
been looking for it since the beginning of December with them.
Yeah.
But
So what I'd like to do is, let's hope that we hear something from the sheriff and,
well, if they aren't providing us with a contract, they can't very well have an issue with us not signing a contract.
yeah.
We weren't the only town that was asking questions, so I think that's why the county commissioners extended.
Oh, yeah, and the biggest issue at that meeting was the liability. That's what, there were some towns that said, no matter what, we're gonna go with it because we can't find our own animal control officer. It sounds like that may be where we go, but it certainly would be nice to have more information. And he is at least checking into this idea about why are things blacked out, because nobody else seemed to have an issue with that. I brought it up at the meeting and no one else said anything.
Well, I can usually figure out where it is.
But
from the
why
other
was leaving
information.
it done?
Well, I think the answer is that because this becomes a public record
Mhm.
accessible.
Yep.
That they're trying to kind of protect the names of the innocent, shall we say.
Right,
And he did make some reference there in terms of what legally has to be protected.
Yep.
Well, what's funny is if we had an animal control officer, we would know.
Yeah,
and that's really the difference.
We would,
And we
we
could have
could
immediate
verbally,
service.
we can get it from them verbally. And again, goes back to what we keep. I think to his credit, he's saying that some information isn't supposed to be in the public
But he
domain.
said he was gonna double check that.
That's right,
Yeah, I mean, he was very,
that's right. So that's
he
the case, he's gonna
responded
check it.
immediately, yeah, I have no qualms about what the conversation that we had and the meeting, but it was clear that there were other people too that had an issue with the wording of the liability, but it was just this one paragraph was all we got. And so I knew about that change in the 5%. But does that mean that it's across the board? And everybody's gonna pay an equal amount. I don't
Is the
know.
liability clause something you wanted to run by the attorney?
We talked about that and I wanted to wait until we at least had something.
The contract itself?
Yeah, because I'd like to see what's in there. And I got the sense that he was gonna revisit that and have some conversation because other people were concerned about it as well.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is just make sure that this goes on and, we keep it,
Keep it on the front.
yeah,
On our radars.
because we do need to deal with that. We can't, let it slip by us. Correspondence, anything for correspondence?
We had an email come in from Department of Marine Resources to Select Board Town Clerk, so April, you probably got it separately, saying that we have a report that's due to them, the annual review letter that provides our municipal shellfish management report due by April 1st. I'm presuming that our shellfish committee has been producing that.
Yeah.
But just to make sure to close the loop that's on their radar to do.
I did get that, because I
Did
just
that
checked
come
my
through on the
email.
select board email? I don't get those. Do you
Well-
get them, Donna?
When I look at the select board, yes.
This is on my radar because it happened last year and it's in the sort of clerk manual, so I know about it, but I would love to have the actual paperwork. If someone doesn't mind forwarding
You
it
might
to
talk
me.
to Lincoln.
Yeah, and I'll see if,
We hopefully get something that you'd have on record, you'd have a copy.
I have the older copies, yeah,
No.
but I didn't get the email.
Okay, I'm sending it to you now.
Yeah, okay,
But you have last year's copy?
yes.
Great.
Yeah.
Oops.
All right, on to admin items. And it looks like, I think most of those are yours. We want to talk about the new office flow plan. We talked about this a week or so ago where there was a citizen's issue. People were complaining about, it gets cold outside when you have to wait in line to come in. And so the request was, is there some way that we can fix it so that people aren't outside, or if they're outside in their car, and how do they know that they're the next one, if somebody else drives up and they hop out of their car and now they're next in line.
Mhm.
So we had a discussion about it the other day, and the staff, I think, moved forward immediately. So April?
Yes, so we kind of have like a COVID thing in place, we've had in place for a long time, that's really outdated, where there's signs on the door that say, if there's someone inside, wait in the car. That is no longer necessary. So this has gone through a couple iterations, but I think where we're at now is we're going to have folks just come in, and if Dee Dee's busy, just walk past Dee Dee, go down the hall. Ashley and I will have we have these service doors open, so we're gonna have nice little wooden trays where people can do paperwork, and they'll come right up to our door and we'll wait on you right there. So this will kind of be back to the old days where folks can just come into the town office and keep going and come down the hall. If everybody's busy or you need a particular person and they're busy, wait in the community room, which is the room we're in right now. Nice big room, lots of chairs, make yourself some coffee, but no one should have to wait in the car anymore. And we also really want to encourage folks to not just turn around if Dee Dee's busy. Dee Dee is very talented and knows a lot, but Ashley also can do everything related to car registrations, trucks, boats, ATVs, and I am learning the basics. So even if Ashley is busy, I can do a simple re-registration. If you're not changing your plates, I'll be able to do boats, ATVs, that kind of thing. So we can all help, and we're all cross-trained. Most of the things that I do, they can do, and vice versa. So folks should view us as all able to help and all open and accessible to the public.
Thank you. And that should go in the next newsletter.
And I believe, I'm just thinking this too, I think we might be able to just start that tomorrow. We don't have the sort of like paperwork trays ready yet, but we can, I think, just open it up and do the half doors and have people come on in.
Great. Yeah, I came here the other day and there was a gentleman standing outside and there was a sign that said, please come in, don't worry, so I went on in and I said, come on in, and actually, they needed April, not Dee Dee, so it was useless for him to be out there. But he wasn't from the island, actually, I found out, he actually wanted a commercial shellfish license. For some reason, though, I said, read the sign, but I shouldn't have said that. I realize that. But anyway, so it'll take a while to get people trained, but I think putting it in the newsletter will, because I'm sure that's been on many people's minds. How do you make sure
We'll
that,
put new signage outside and.
especially once it's cold and stuff.
Yeah.
All right, so that's the office flow. Draft committee's policy, that's you?
Yeah, so me and the select board reviewed at their workshop this past week, a draft committee's policy that I've drafted. Essentially, right now, we have a patchwork of committee policies on the books. Some are quite a few years old, pretty outdated. So I thought it'd be useful to have one succinct and comprehensive committee policy where we had it all in one place and help make it clear to committees and chairs and to staff how we function as a town and interact with our committees. So I have drafted that. There's a few changes that the select board suggested, and once that's in a more final draft form, the plan will be to send that out to committee chairs for their review and their feedback, with a hope of voting on that in one of our February select board meetings and getting that in place.
Okay. How about the Squire Top Racks in liquor license, which we have right here?
Well, I don't know too much about that other than what you have in your hands
We
there.
just have to go through, we approve.
Yep. So they've asked for a liquor license for a particular purpose or just in general, like for a year?
I think it's their regular.
Hmm?
I think it's their renewal.
Yep, I believe
I-
it's a
I-
renewal.
I feel like she said it, oh, they did check renewal, okay.
Yep. Well, that one's,
23, 12/29, 12/9/23.
oh, this is a renewal. Okay,
Okay,
because it expired then. So basically, this is the same thing that we've been doing in the past.
I believe so. I didn't research it, to be honest. I know that some things came across my desk last year, but they had to do with vendors who wanted to like cater weddings at the inn. I don't think I handled the inn itself. That probably happened right before I came on board.
The state law, we luckily have a resident who works for the liquor authority.
Mhm.
And so I asked her about it because we haven't got a renewal of the authorization for Sassanova Brewing. So that was approved in 2020. And so we don't, I guess we don't have to. It's not required, but it's fine to go ahead and do an annual or approval for license. And most towns do that. Most towns do expect that you're going to renew your liquor license.
So are you going to?
Well, what do you think?
I
Select
think you
board?
should.
We can do that.
I don't think it hurts. And
It's just,
it's nice to
to
have.
me, it's more paperwork.
Yep. All right, so we will approve this then.
Well, we should.
Oh,
vote.
we should vote to see if we approve this. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the liquor license, the renewal license for Squire Tarbox Inn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. As soon as we get that done, then we'll go. By the way, I did forget for correspondence, we did get a nice thank you letter from Spectrum Generations. We had given them a donation in 2023 for $701. So we got a nice thank you note from them. Why you want to keep that? All right, next on the agenda is election clerk appointment. So I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Sarah Griffiths as election clerk for basically, it looks like a 2-year term.
Well, it's the remainder
Remainder of a
of a
2-year
two-year
term.
term, so it's actually ending pretty soon, because we reappoint, I think it's like the end of April 30th or something like that.
So why are we doing this now before we have an election?
Because we're gonna have an election in March, and
Ah.
Sarah said that
Well-
she thought she was an election clerk, and I don't have an appointment for her, she's not on my list. She's like, why aren't I helping with elections? And I was like, oh, well, I would love to have your help, so I'm just gonna appoint her for the interim to finish up, and that way she can help in March, and then we'll probably just reappoint her going into the next 2-year cycle at the end of April, I think is the date.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Sarah Griffiths as election clerk and ballot clerk. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I'm gonna jump down to town hall rental applications, and we discussed a meeting or two ago about renting out the town hall for Westport Island Democratic Committee meeting on February 4th. And we had approved that. And
Yep.
so now what we're doing is just going to sign.
Well, yeah, so I just wanted to have some official paperwork because it was kind of word of mouth that Barbara wanted to rent it, and we put on the agenda to get it done for her, but we didn't have any paperwork. So that's the new form I'm working on.
Nice. Yep.
Since it's not like the actual legal agreement, I felt like it was safe to use that, and it was a little bit more conducive to telling you what the event actually was. So I just used that to submit her information, and that way we'll have an approval, and then once we have a finalized town hall rental agreement, hopefully within the week, we can have her sign that, and I'll have you sign that as well.
So I'll make a motion anyway to, even though we already did that, but since we have an official application.
Yeah.
So I'd like to make a move that we accept Barbara Cray's request for an application to rent the town hall on February 4th. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
So, in favor, I just began to note that that's for a public purpose. So for that, I think you voted to not charge for that, and it's because
Exactly,
it's the
yep.
Democratic Party caucus.
Yep, and we actually said that if the Republicans want to do the same thing,
Right.
that they would
They
have
use the
to.
public building.
Yeah, absolutely, yep. So today is the 8th. And one more town hall rental. That
You can say it out loud because it's unlikely Buddy will be
I won't.
watching our YouTube. But
Okay, yes, she had come in and Buddy was with you and Nita
Mhm.
came over and told me what she wanted to do with it.
yes,
I guess she's telling Buddy that wants to rent to have just a dinner or
a
something.
dinner.
Yeah, but she'd actually like to have a surprise party for Buddy.
Oh.
So she's asking to rent the town hall.
Yeah.
And again,
91.
Really?
for me,
Oh my God.
he's a
It's gonna be.
Buddy's gonna be 91. So Nita's throwing him a
Nita's gonna be a
surprise party at the
surprise
town
party.
hall.
Oh.
So I don't feel like we should charge on this either. He's a public official.
Yeah, he served the town for a really long time.
Yeah. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept Nita Greenleaf's application to rent the town hall on 121. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So a couple things on that. It's the day after the WCA chili cook-off. I didn't see a problem with that, but I just wanted to note that. I couldn't really discuss it with her because he was right there.
Yep.
So I had a hard time like communicating the subtleties.
Because you don't know what her setup needs are gonna be.
Well, and then the other thing is there's no water, right?
Yes.
Right.
The WCA must be aware of that because they've done the cook-off before.
Yes.
So they just do it with no water and figure it out. Okay.
Yep, they all bring their own little,
Okay.
crock pots and
Lots of extension cords.
absolutely.
So Dee Dee's making sure Nita knows. She has ways to get directly in touch with her around Buddy.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, how do we support her with this?
Yeah.
But if she's getting word of mouth, then
Mhm.
that'll be a good thing.
Mhm.
All right, there was,
Oh, there was one more item on the admin, Donna, which was the meeting schedule. So
yeah, yeah,
We
I
already
was gonna come back to
kind of
that.
set the February one, but I just want to confirm. And then also the RSU wants to know when in March or April they could come to do their annual presentation. So I want to be able to give them dates as well and get us in there, so we get a good date. So I think for February, you guys have said the 5th. Yeah, February 5th, and then you were gonna skip the 12th, and then you were going to,
But the 19th was a,
President's Day?
President's
No,
Day.
That's a,
yeah, I think all we have set right now is the 5th.
yeah, I think we
I think that's. where
decided we
stopped,
wanted to
yeah.
talk about. We could do the 5th, the 12th, and then jump to the 26th.
Mondays are always holidays.
Yep.
It's like the day of the week.
How does that?
That's fine. I actually had something I was trying to do on the 12th, but it's not essential, so I can meet that day.
Or we could do the 19th, but that is I think it's a federal holiday.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys are beholden to that. I mean, the staff is, so I won't come,
Well,
but,
I see the crowd that's here,
I know.
so, trying to be sensitive to their needs.
Mhm.
It's hard to do every other week. Doesn't seem to work out.
I'm fine. I'm not going anyplace that I know of. So I'm actually fine doing the 5th and 19th and then going into March. Would that work better for you?
It might,
Okay, why don't we plan for the 19th, the 5th and the 19th?
Okay, and then looking ahead at March, the next,
3, 4.
yeah, so if you were meeting the 19th, you would not meet the 26th.
Yep.
You would meet Monday, the 4th, which does not look like a holiday. Although it's the day before the election, so I probably also won't be there, but. All right, so that's 3, 4. Okay, and then you
The
will
18th,
not meet the 11th, you'll meet the 18th.
Then we might have to start ramping things up again.
Won't meet the
Yeah.
20th.
and I think let's just go to there and then see,
Yeah.
because I remember we spent a lot of time with warrants and stuff last year.
well,
Hopefully it'll be cleaner this year.
yes, hopefully so. So we'll have, I think, topics partially relating to assessing, they'll be cropping up in April.
Yep.
But yeah, we should be full on
Yeah,
working our
I think
budget
we're gonna need
process.
to, yeah.
Okay, so for the RSU, I'm just gonna give them every other week dates through the end of April.
Yep.
And if you guys need to meet more often, that's fine, but at least that way I can give them that. And I don't think there's any other major holidays we need to think about.
And-
Anyone know when Easter's gonna be this year? Have the popes or whoever does it, figured that out?
Probably I don't even have it on my calendar.
No, I don't have
Weird.
Cause they do it every year, it's a,
Well, okay, so
right?
the 22nd is, it's Passover.
But that's really a Sunday unless you're,
That's true.
Orthodox Easter is
Oh,
the
it's Sunday.
5th, so I'm gonna guess it's so weird.
March 31st.
What? Wow, there it is. I wonder, I'm looking in April.
Sometimes it's on my birthday, and sometimes it's in April, sometimes it's quite a ways in.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
and I know there is a way to figure that out, but
Okay,
I'm not there.
so you
Um,
would meet the day after, and that's probably okay. It's not like it's celebrated on the Monday or anything, although
Oh, I
I
don't
think,
care.
I think the Monday is something.
thought-
but-
Friday was
April
Good
Fool's
Friday
Day.
yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I
No,
used to
I
think
don't
every
think-
Friday was Good Friday, so.
You know, I believe there was an Irish thing for Easter Monday.
Oh, really?
I have a vague recollection, but frankly, I wouldn't swear by it because
And I know
things have
that-
changed so
oh.
much in Ireland.
It
Yeah.
is on my Google Calendar, Easter Monday.
Yeah, but I don't think it's
I've
something we need to
never
pay
heard
attention
of
to.
that.
I think that sometimes that's also when there's spring break, but that wouldn't impact us. And how we can choose or not choose that Monday, but given them as an option. April, the board talked earlier and we're planning to do Thursdays, at least for the next couple months, Thursdays from 2 to 4 is our workshop. So I know you're,
Starting this week.
Starting this week, okay, I'll get that noticed.
and just to say publicly, on the 22nd, we have Richard and Mary coming to talk about just their little board. This is not Howie, this is just them talking. And also Ted Christie is coming.
Richard DeVries and Mary Coventry, about the RSC 12 board.
Just giving us an update. And then on the 5th, you'll appreciate this, the history committee is coming. The co-presidents or co-chairs, or I guess they're chairs. Do you have a president for the Friends?
Co-chairs.
No?
Co-chairs, yeah.
Yeah, Joan and Jean Exter will be on the, I did ask, and I'll ask again, because I was thinking that when Richard is here on the 22nd, that maybe he could talk about his other committee, but, and I'd like him to be prepared, but, he didn't respond, so I'll send him another message and, because I feel like he'd want to at least have some background.
It'd be good to, yes, not to have him going on it.
Yeah, and if he's gonna be here anyway, out on a cold night, that if he could do both at the same time would be good. So,
Just talking, you've probably seen in the paper, there's been a fair amount about the school board budgets statewide, but there was in Lincoln County News a bit from Howard Tuttle talking about what he's projecting for the coming year, and he feels it's going to be challenging.
yeah, he's pretty depressing, sounded like.
And we have a reduced enrollment, which is a factor in terms of getting reimbursements from the state. So we are believed down to 55, based on what I saw in Lincoln County News.
Yep. What?
We're down to 55
55.
students.
We were 61, I think, last
That's
year or
right.
something.
That's
like
right.
that.
So that's part of what, I don't know that Richard and Mary have any insight, but hopefully they've also asked some questions.
But just even for them to talk about the challenges that they've had, not even financial, just, the things that are happening that are important for them as committee chairs.
I've been called me like 10 times in the last 2 minutes.
All right, so any other admin items for anybody? Nope, we'll go on to other legal business, and that's you, Lisa. You want to talk about an update on the junkyard?
Yeah, so, we're actually meeting again tomorrow.
This week,
Sorry, ordinance review committee. We've been hashing out or attempting to hash out a junkyard and automobile graveyard type of ordinance, and not getting very far. We did recently pass some emails back and forth and discussion about whether it should be a junkyard ordinance or not, something different. And John Henderson came up with South Portland has a nuisance ordinance, which kind of covers a lot more specifics than the junkyard, because the junkyard is technically seen as a business, whereas a nuisance could be somebody who's just got lots of garbage in their yard. So anyway, so we're gonna be looking at that tomorrow and seeing how far that goes with the committee. In the meantime, with the Wormwood situation, since we do have enough ground to work on with the state statute, we decided to start moving ahead with that in terms of sending him, Mr. Wormwood, a certified letter that Gary, our CEO, has drafted for us. I don't know, do you want to read it
I
or?
think it would be good to do so.
Okay,
Partially just to get things into the public record, so to speak.
okay. So as a draft, as of right now, I don't think we've even really discussed it as a group, but after receiving multiple complaints regarding the storage of various materials on your property at 46 Greenleaf Road, shown as map 6, lot 8 on the tax maps, the select board and codes enforcement officer have visited your property and made a determination that the condition of the property meets the definition of a junkyard as defined by statute, copy attached, and is in violation of the above referenced statute, which is MRS Title 30-A, sections 3751 to 3760, chapter 183. Town officials have had several conversations with you in an attempt to reach an amicable solution that would satisfy all parties involved without any sign of progress. The town is now in a position where a formal enforcement action seems the only way to move the process forward. In order to legally operate a junkyard, application for a permit must be made to the municipal officers, select board, and if approved, must be renewed annually on the first day of October. Following receipt of a completed application, the select board will schedule a public hearing where the applicant presents their proposal and interested parties are offered the opportunity to provide input. The applicant is required to provide notifications to abutting property owners and to provide proof of such notification with the application. The town is requesting that you review the enclosed statutory language to determine whether or not your activity meets the requirements that would allow a permit to be issued for the operation of a junkyard, and what measures you must take to comply with the law. If you decide to proceed with the application process, please complete and submit the attached application along with application fee, which we haven't discussed, and evidence of notification to abutting landowners. Should you decide not to proceed with the application, please provide a written plan and timeline for the removal and organization of materials that resolves the premises as meeting the definition of being deemed a junkyard. Your response is requested to be received by the town officer no later than 2 weeks from the date of this notice. You have the right to appeal this decision. And that's where he put something down, but I believe I talked to, I didn't talk to it. I emailed MMA Legal about this. And basically, since we don't have an ordinance, his appeal would be with the Superior Court at this point, if he doesn't like our denial, if we do deny it. And that was it.
I think one of the things that we needed to talk about was what the fee would be. And I think you should
I
suggest.
said in my research, $50, we could make it higher if we had an ordinance. But from all my research, that basically $50 was like what we were allowed
Yeah,
to
And by
do.
the way, good job. Thank you for doing that research
Well, why?
on that. I mean, I wouldn't have known that there
Oh.
was a standard. That's great.
It's a huge rabbit hole. But yeah, so,
One of the things that Gary mentioned was the idea that if we have a hearing, we have to post it, which costs money. And we've talked about in the past, because prices are going up for cost of putting just a little thing in the paper. You know what it is now, people?
Oh,
Like
did you
when you
notice
have
in
to
the
do
paper?
something like a peer review.
I have no idea. Ashley gets the bill.
Because it seems to me it used to be around 50, but some were like up to $95.
It depends on the size.
Right,
So this can be a smaller block.
but even the smaller one, I think was,
Probably 35 minimum, I think.
so we need to pay for that as well as Gary's time.
Yeah, which the $50 is not gonna cover.
Right.
But if this is what we can charge, without it being specified in an ordinance, then I think that's what we have to go with.
But yeah, if we don't have any other choice, but then I'd like
Well,
to
I think
have the ordinance committee
Yeah,
revisit that.
well,
Like, I'm
that
putting another load on
would
you.
be written,
Yeah.
in that, whatever we
Yeah.
decide on, yeah.
But
But for
for this
now, then,
particular letter, I think the 50 was,
is the limit we can do.
knowing that it isn't fully likely to cover our costs. But at least it should
And
get
that's
us to a
part of-
resolution.
Part of the discussion, because there's a state statute, right? Why do we need a town ordinance? So the whole reason behind having a town ordinance is so you can add things to it that the state doesn't allow. So as it stands now, if we go after this with the state statute, then we can only go by the state's criteria.
Yeah, makes sense.
And we can't
Yep.
add to that at all.
And I have to be applied for a permit.
Right.
So there's problems, but this,
But this particular situation, it does,
yeah,
you know,
it meets.
meets the criteria for the
The
state's
state. Which is what we're
definition
using
of
right
the
now.
junkyard,
Yeah.
so that's what we're doing, so.
Yeah.
That's the question with, you know, having the ordinances is, you know, why do we need one for ourselves if we wanna, you know, add to it, so.
I think this should be, just going back to the point about the nuisance language, I think that might be a good.
Better
approach.
way to go. So one of the things that I read also is that when you have a situation like this, you can enjoin this junkyard with also with the nuisance, the state statute for a nuisance or littering. There's two different ones for the state. So sometimes you can, you know, lump that in with it. So I'm thinking with the emails that we just had as a group over the last day or so that I think we're leaning towards more the nuisance in terms of an ordinance for the town if we move forward, rather than the junkyard, because the junkyards and the automobile graveyards and all of that is more like a business. And I don't think we're gonna have issues like that with the town so much. I think we were sort of going that route because of this one property, but there might be other things that come up that we could even, a dog, you know, barking animals, you know, that's a nuisance, right? I mean, things we could put in here that might help us better than a junkyard ordinance. I think
I think it just, we'll have that discussion, I'm sure, with the ordinance committee about what the bounds are. Or when is a nuisance, a nuisance? Or is
Yes,
it not a nuisance?
well,
There's a lot
exactly.
of criteria language, but you get into degrees.
Which is what we already had
Yeah.
issued, so it'll
But,
be interesting.
but I think it's a good
It's a
avenue
little
to go
different,
down.
yeah, so we'll see.
Definitely a lot of
also,
research on this. Nope, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, we also sort of worked up a new building permit application with Brandon Pescari. He made some changes in regard to the signing off aspect of the footings being approved before they move forward with construction. So there probably is gonna be some wording in the ordinance that we have to change or add to cover that, but that's in the works as well.
It's great, it's
yeah.
great, because that was an issue.
That was a big one, and I believe Jim, I gave Jim some of the information for the driveway, I forget what they call it, entry, is it-
Entries, yeah, entries
entries?
is one.
Yeah, it's a big,
If we put a
call it a
culvert in,
strange
yep,
thing,
yep.
but I believe the road committee was gonna sort of take that and then come back to ordinance review
Good.
with kind of, you know, how they, like, and he had a sample ordinance to go by, so, yeah. So we
Great.
should be able to get that done too, so.
Well, as far as this, this letter from, Gary, I think putting the amount in there and then straightening out that last part about what the process is.
For appeals,
Where
yeah.
does it go?
Mhm.
I think with those changes, I would, I think it's
It's
a
fine.
very well written
Yeah.
letter, so,
Are you making a motion?
I'm going to make a motion, yes. I'd like to make a motion that based on those two items that we then approve it and have Gary move forward with it. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So we could, if you let him know about that, then we could hopefully sign this
I'll
next
tell him
week and get it in the works.
So now that we've approved it, we can probably sign it this week, leave it out on the table for us to sign.
Yes, because it is approved, yeah, because he's got to get rid of some of this little notes there and
Yeah.
add the amount.
Going back to the ordinance review, I think I also saw that we have Ron Studley was circulating the language for two of the ordinances as per the recommendations of, or per the last meeting from
Right,
Ted Christie.
yes, and he actually did I was gonna do it, but all of a sudden he came up with the strikeouts for what Ted was, so I forwarded it. April, did you get that? I forwarded them to April, because I don't know how we do that when you change an ordinance. Do you want to reflect what the changes were?
It's good practice to
Yeah,
have both the clean
right.
copy and then the markup.
Okay,
So it makes it easy, because we will want to have a
To
public
compare.
hearing.
Yep.
But I think this is one of the things you'll have to think of with the committee is, do you want to have one public hearing where we're covering all the things? Because hopefully you're gonna have multiple things to bring up.
right,
Or do you want to do, take it different bites? One week, talk about the Ted Christie changes, another week might be talking about the building code changes, or however you want to do it.
yeah. I think probably the nuisance one would be a standalone, and the other ones I think probably could go together, because they're not big changes in terms of affecting
And you're trying to get
the
people to
town.
come
I
to
think
it.
the nuisance thing is gonna affect more people.
Yeah,
That would be my thinking, but I can bring that up.
But I think would be okay in terms of taking,
then
the committee takes responsibility for planning how it wants to do its public hearings.
Right,
And ultimately making sure that the clean copies get to the town clerk.
yeah. So we'll probably start looking at the calendar too, for kind of going backwards and seeing where we're falling with that and figuring that out. Yeah, so.
sounds like you're making great progress. I'm thrilled
it's-
about
it's
the
painful.
building permit.
Yeah,
that-
that one's pretty easy to do.
Yeah, that's great.
Language, but I think it's really important.
Yep.
I think it's gonna make a huge difference.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, any other business before we adjourn? All right, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
all right.
Okay.
So Brian, what's the score?
Stop the recording, so-
7-0 Michigan.
Thank you.
Hang on, I know what I was
Just gonna
just
stop
gonna
the recording.
stop the recording, that's what I was gonna do.
So what'd you say?